Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogboat333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order Last Days of Europe. Now, last time we played TNO, we hopped into the classic country of Komi, and elected a Mr. Shafarvik, and instituted a pseudo-democracy with racist characteristics. Or Putinism with racist characteristics, essentially. And that was fun. A little bit on the harsher side, but I saw an okay amount of fun. And I want to say it's been a while since I streamed TNO on Twitch. I think the last time I might have done that for sure was Ireland, although granted... No, well, I think I recorded Komi offline. Yeah, I think it's been a while since I've streamed TNO on the Twitch, I want to say. And so I figured it was about time to hop back in, give her a gander. So, I'm on twitch.tv/MrDogboat333 right now if you want to see me do this sort of stuff live. Or if you want to interact with the chat while I'm doing this, go ahead and hop in. Hit the follow button to keep up to date. And, yeah. I was playing a US game offline, but gave up on that. So we're going to be heading out to the east now. Hold on, I forgot to see whether it had a little blurb or not. I think it probably does. Yep. Here we go. We're heading out to the Far East today, which is a region I've only played in once before. And so I figured it was about, we were about due another visit there. So we're going to be hopping into Buryatia. So let's go ahead and do a little bio reading. Yagoda and the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet and their recruits seem to have learned nothing from the fall of Bukharin's Union. They insist that they have a true heir to Stalin's revolution, while the NKVD snuffs out all the intra-party criticism. Whereas yet they stifle the local Buryat people's autonomy under a Russo-centric hegemony. After years of Yagoda's tyranny, the various dissidents within his fiefdom have risen up to overthrow him and his presidium. They have rallied along the charismatic young idealist Valery Sablin. Sablin? I'm not quite sure. You'd think after all the times TNO Reddit talked about this guy, I'd know how to pronounce his name, but I don't. A passionate Leninist who's called for true freedom and equality for all under the peoples of Russia. Everyone from Bukharinites distressed by glowing NKVD control, Buryats who desire autonomy, junior officers, and women who seek equality have joined his mutiny. But when Sablin wins, if he wins, he'll have to come face to face with pragmatic challenges of governing a state. Will Sablin's union live up to London's ideals, or backslide in Bukharinist dictatorial pragmatism? We'll have to wait and see, won't we? So, we are in the Far East. I want to say after I played Magadan, they added a little something to help develop this area, because it is pretty underdeveloped generally, but I'm not 100% on that. But regardless, we're going to hop in. We'll go ahead and start her up. No Iron Man mode, because why would we? Oh, okay. I forgot this was a thing. That's right. But here we go. One of the reasons I'm playing this is that I have thumbnails that I made a while back for Sablin that I just never got to use. And I want to get around to using them because I do have a backlog of ones I got. Take a shot at time every time Doggo cheats Death Challenge XXX stream 18 plus only. Ha ha ha. It's only 1 plus only if you live in the States. So that's false advertising. You're being deceptive, Jason. But yeah, Sablin is due to get a rework eventually, I think, because it is a borderline meme at this point, how one of his paths is clearly better and optimistic and wholesome and all that shit. And I don't know fully which path we're going to go down, the more pragmatic route or the optimist route. I hope I don't have to choose immediately. but yeah, it's almost become a meme at this point. In fact, it has just outright become a meme at this point. Although, I haven't heard people talk about this in a while, so I don't know. But what I do know is that we're going to give this a gander. I'm going to set the timer. On December 30th, 1922, the Treaty on the Creation of the USSR established the Soviet Union. Most Russians would say that the Soviet Union was destroyed in 1945 when the Union shattered after the Nazis reached the AA line. Yagoda and his presidium claimed the Soviet Union was never destroyed and is still being legitimately governed from Irkutsk. But Valery Sablin knew that the Soviet Union was truly destroyed in 1924, when Nikolai Bukharin won the power struggle to succeed Lenin and began dismantling everything that Lenin had stood for. Sablin didn't always think this way. He used to be a dutiful commissar in Yagoda's army. He served valiantly in the Central Siberian War despite constant NKVD interference in his unit. He was a lifelong believer in the ideas of Lenin, and for most of his life he believed that Yagoda and his presidium upheld them. But as the years dragged on and the NKVD tightened their grip for the Soviet state, Sablin, however you say it, began to doubt he was truly fighting for liberation of the proletariat after all. Valery Sablin was not alone. He soon began to meet others who questioned Yagoda and his growing securocracy. He met Buryats, who felt their culture was being destroyed by assimilationist policies, Bukharinites who felt that an NKVD securocracy was antithetical to Bukharin's union, and he met women who felt like that their equal share of a socialist society was refused to them because of their sex. He united these and other disparate groups together to launch a revolution against Yagoda, seizing control of Buryatia in the process. Yet after the revolution, what's next? Sablin is committed to liberating the Union and bringing freedoms and equality to all Russians. Sablin has also never governed a polity. The Bukharinite wing of his movement will still be strong after Irkutsk is reclaimed. Sablin will have to make a difficult choices between Leninist idealisms and Bukharinite pragmatism, but for now all he has to do is end Yagoda's tyranny. After that, the restoration of the USSR will commence. There we go. And we also, of course, got all this good stuff. Well, there we go. Poyikail. Let's look again and see what we have starting off. We start off as communist. We have... Am I going to sneeze? I feel like I'm going to sneeze, god damn it. No. Okay. I'm good. Anyway. We're led by Valery Sablin. Born in Leningrad amidst the New Year celebrations of 1939, Valery Sablin was only a child when his family was evacuated eastwards with the shattered remnants of a presidium, even as his father, a naval officer, sailed forth to meet his doom against the Kriegsmarine. This sacrifice was never lost on Sablin, who had grown up dreaming of the Union he had barely known, and of a revolution his father had fought in. Despite having reservations with Yagoda's leadership, Sablin willingly enlisted into the army as a commissar. Still, not out of a sense of loyalty to Yagoda's totalitarian empire, but out of perhaps foolish hope that deep within the halls of a few ramshackle military academies that still stood, he would find answers to his questions. Was this really what those who came before him wanted? All he found was disappointment. What few books he could find were censored beyond measure, and he knew that the NKVD watched his every step. When the Central Siberian War set the East ablaze, Sablin did his duty, inspiring his men to fight for socialism and equality. The more those under his command looked to him for guidance, the more he wondered if he was truly on the right side. Eventually, the dam broke. Sablin, accompanied by a few loyal soldiers, stormed a radio tower and broadcast a message for all the East to hear. In it, Sablin spoke earnestly of the hardships the people of Russia faced and spoke of his dream for a truly equal socialist state, free of the terror Yagoda imposed upon the people. He expected no one to listen, but they did. Men and women flocked to join him, the dreamers, the dissidents, and the youths. Now Sablin and his revolutionaries fight for their future, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice for their dream. So, well, led by that guy, our head of government is Susanna Pechuro. You have Otto Braun, which does not sound very Russian, but okay. Okay. We have Maya Lanoskvaya as our economy minister. And our security minister is Mikhail Markiv. There we are. So immediately we start off at war with Irkutsk. So we're going to go ahead, get some stuff figured out. Field Marshal, we have Ilya Baldanov. So we'll get Ilya in. Front lines. We'll get the army there. We'll try to get some guys there. Generals, let's get... let's see. It's winter, so we might want a winter specialist to start off with. We'll go with Vladilin Forman. Because he seems... We might be doing some more offensive motions here, so that might be the best move. And then... Here we'll go with Gurzhab Orchirov. And meanwhile, we'll get working on support equipment. That's a new musical cue. I did not notice that before. And then we need some basic industry, so we'll get working on this. We got free production units. So we got to head up to construction. I take it back. We don't have free construction units. Let's go ahead and start with the spark. God damn, my legs asleep. Ah, fuck. The time has come, comrades. For too long, the tyrant Yagoda sat in his ivory tower, while the rest of us starved in the dirt. For too long have the corrupt men of the NKVD prowled the streets, taking our friends and family in the dead of night, never to be seen again. The will of the avenging proletariat shall put an end to this, led by our comrade-at-arms, Valeri Sablin, for it was he who first took a stand, he who first questioned the tyrant, he who looked death in the face and said, no. With the aid of the Buryats, our ASSR has been reborn. Together, arm in arm, brother and sister, we will light the spark of revolution right under Yagoda's feet. And when the time comes, it will be consumed in its blaze. Well, there we go. I'm gonna... see if it updated. It says it. We have no production going on right now. Actually, we have a little bit. Anyway, as a great patriotic war shattered the Soviet Union, those that dwelled within the Buryat ASSR could not help but fear for the future. Even as Yagoda evacuated the government to the east, the always looming fear of a Japanese or German strike was ever present. Because of this, we did not complain when Yagoda expanded VNKVD's power. Emergency measures, he said. We did not complain when the Presidium was purged. Surely, Comrade Yagoda had good intentions. Of course, we did not complain when our neighbors were dragged off by men in the middle of the night, never to be seen again. Surely, they were traitors. When Comrade Yagoda consolidated his grip even further, and the men came in the middle of the day, none thought any sane person could have the courage to speak out. And yet, Comrade Sablin did. Emboldened by Yagoda's resounding defeat in the war within the Central Siberian Republic, he acted. Amir Kamazar, only 23 years of age, but disgusted by the atrocities he had seen, in a small amount of men stormed the radio tower and broadcast his message for all to hear. This was not socialism, he said. This was not even a life worth living. Comrade Sablin called for those oppressed for so long by Yagoda's steel grip to free themselves, to take a stand, to tell their oppressors, no. And they did. Comrade Sablin has declared the Buryatia SSR reborn, free from Yoda's tyranny. For the moment. Even now the NKVD march, determined to slaughter those who stand in the way. But their iron discipline and shining guns mean nothing. Thanks to Comrade Sablin, we've tasted freedom, and we will die before it's taken from us. The revolution marches on. Well, forward we go. I'm gonna start moving a little bit in with that guy. My calling is to the east, Papa. I'm sorry. Boldyrev stared into his son. His face was hard as iron, his eyes a piercing blade. For the briefest moment, he did not know what to say. 10 years he served Yagoda. 10 years he'd risen through the ranks of NKVD. Blood stained his hands, but long had he rationalized it during the sleepless nights. It was necessary. It was his duty. Before that, as a boy of just 17, he fought and bled for the Bolsheviks in the Great Civil War. He promised his life to the revolution until the very end of his days. Now, here was a son, about to betray the nation that Boldyrev had a hand in forging, with eyes that pleaded to his father. Let me go. Let me fight for what is right. Boldyrev sighed, setting a hand upon his son's shoulders. I was only a bit younger than you when I too bled for Lenin. In those days, I asked myself one question every single night. Was I fighting for the right side? What if I had made a horrible mistake? He shook his head, smiling. I followed what my heart desired. I followed the passion that guided me and led me to the socialist revolution. Boldyrev swallowed, suddenly uneasy of what he was about to say. No matter who won the struggle, his words would doom him. But cruel men corrupted in my son. They brought me down a path I never should have followed. I'm old now, and my passion has dried. His eyes met with his son's, and tears swelled. Follow your heart, my son. Do what you believe is right. Do not be constrained by old feeble men like me. But hold your comrades accountable, as I should have. His son nodded, and the eagerness that filled his face was now mixed with longing. I will, Papa, he said. As he watched his son step out of the house into Buryatia, Boldyrev feared that he had killed him. Yet he could not restrain his boy like he did to so many others. His fate was for himself. Now, there was only one hopeless wish he had left. Please come back home. Hold one extra manpower. Very, very nice. I don't know if I didn't read this, I think. So let's go ahead and give this a gander. So we have idealistic revolutionaries to start us off. The soldiers of a newly reformed Buryatia SSR consist of a young and the idealistic, and the desperate, united as one in their hope for a better life and what Yagoda's reign of terror gives them. Under the direction of Comrade Sablin, they fight with zeal against the enemies of the people. Though lacking proper equipment and in many cases proper training, their faith in a better world and their dedication to their missions ensure even ground with even the most battle-hardened NKVD divisions. So we get extra recovery rate, which is nice, and a bit less organization, which isn't as nice. Then we have the Ghost of Bukharin, which gives us some stability, which is okay, but we're lacking political power, which I think we really could use. Nikolai Bukharin's authoritarianism and economic policies may have helped doom the Union in the first place, but in his private moments, Comrade Sablin cannot help but wonder whether his theories had some merit to them. While of course Comrade Sablin is utterly dedicated to his ideals and principles, perhaps ruthless pragmatism is the best way to heal the scars across the motherland. Whatever Comrade Sablin chooses to do, he knows that the weight of his actions will forever rest on his shoulders. Next, we have a flight east. Though the West Russian War ended almost a decade ago, Western Russia has never known peace with the Germans. Instead, life has been punctuated by regular bombings from Luftwaffe, an unending campaign of terror meant to permanently hobble a one-time adversary. Though many Russians have found ways to live amidst the violence, others have tried to escape it by fleeing east. This steady stream of refugees has permanently altered the distribution of Russia's population, with many migrants migrating to the far reaches of the country that remain untouched by the Nazi war machine. So this is only going to last for about 2 years and some change, but extra population is extra population, so I'm not going to turn it down. So, what we have victory points here and there. Victory point up there. Let's get going. Try to move up here. Oh, we can't quite do that. Oh, I think we had an okay idea going for us. Without breaking his stride, Valery Mikhailovich Sablin thrust open the doors of the... Fuck. Why does Russian have to be so complicated? Verkhnudinsk Opera House, bursting through the lobby into the theater. Chairs shoved aside had been transformed into the beating heart of the revolution. Sablin felt the revolutionary fervor electrifying his comrades as they filled the cavernous spaces with noise and motions. You could see the zeal in their eyes as they saluted him. Mounting the stage in a single bound, Sablin barely got time to salute the Central Committee before he was lifted off his feet and a bear hug by Mikhail Markiev, the enormous Ursine Buryat, who commanded the mutiny's army. "Ah, comrade!" exhaled Markiev as he released Sablin. "Is the energy not infectious?" Smiling bashfully, Sablin glanced over to his comrades as they stood around the table in the middle of the stage. Raising one eyebrow, his right-hand woman, Susanna Pechuro, smiled back at him as her inseparable companion, Maya Ulanoskaya, frowned, irritated by the distraction. Not looking up as he scrawled over the map in front of him, the craggy old German Otto Braun grumbled. "I believe we agreed that this meeting would begin over a half hour ago, Comrade Sablin." Sauntering over with Markiev, Sablin looked over the chaotic jumble of maps. Most were pre-war and been hastily altered, reflective of grim realities of a shattered Russia. Shrugging off a brief pang of melancholy, Sablin grinned at his friends. "Ah, comrades, the great work continues. As we free ourselves of Yagoda's oppression, so too do I shrug off the tyranny of the clock." Braun shot Sablin in a look of irritated sufferance over the rims of his spectacles. Despite his jocularity, doubt gnawed at Sablin's heart. To prevail over the tyrant Yagoda, he had to be sure that they had the will of the people. "Comrades, do the people truly favor us? We cannot win this war without the common folk united under our banner." Putting it on his pen, Braun looked Sablin in the eye. "In my years in China, I learned to tell what the people think of their ruler. They hate Yagoda's reign of terror." Suddenly pensive, Markiev nodded, adding, "I can say with certainty that the Buryat people are with us, comrade." "Valera, our spark has lit the flame burning in our eyes, burning in the people's hearts. They are with us and no other," said Pechuro, smiling slightly. Doubt quashed, Sablin nodded, letting his comrades get back to the down and dirty aspect of revolution. The spark. He liked that. Sometimes history needs a push. Okay, we're gonna move out of these guys. I'm gonna take a sip of water before I read this. Alexei and Sergei Maximov embraced warmly in the candlelight of their late father's basement. It was way past curfew, and Sergei had been forced to sneak his way through the abandoned streets of Severodvaikalsk. Their father, a loving but stern man, well respected within Yagoda's party, had died many years earlier. He left both of his sons keys to the property, and they both had come here often since his death to catch up and reminisce. "Yes, sir, Kev. How are you, laddie?" "Good to see you." Both of them knew this time was different. They both pulled up chairs and sat across from each other, and poured themselves each tall glasses of vodka. "I know what you've called me here for, Alexei. You know what my answer will be. Just hear what I have to say. There's no way out of this for you rebels, Sergei. Yagoda's going to crush Sablin's little rebellion in a matter of weeks. If you walk away now, I can make sure you don't end up in front of a firing squad. Oh yes, I'm sure you'll be able to use your petition to the NKVD to get me off. But that represents everything that's wrong with Yagoda's regime, Alexei. The NKVD runs rampant, crushing dissent, killing anyone in its path with impunity. Its agents routinely abusing their power for personal gain. Sablin is right. This is not Lenin's Soviet Union. There has to be a better way. Listen to yourself, Sergei. Yagoda and the NKVD are the only things that have kept Lenin's Soviet Union alive. You think the Union would have survived a single year against the warlords and fascists if not for Yagoda? The NKVD is the only thing keeping our enemies at bay. Whatever you tell yourself to help you sleep at night, Sergei said bitterly, drowning his vodka and rising from his chair. Next time we see each other, it is as enemies. The brothers parted without another word into the cold Siberian night. A tale as old as time. What do we want to do? What's our infrastructure at right now in Buryatia? 2 out of 5. We could use that extra infrastructure. So let's do of hope. Comrades, our revolution is not the rabid bite of starving dog, nor the feeble struggle of the doomed man. Our struggle is a glorious one, born from the suffering forced upon us by Yagoda and his NKVD. But more than that is the embodiment of the unending spirit of hope. The people that one day their struggles will be rewarded, and their struggles will not be in vain. To this end, measures must be done to inspire this hope in those who still fear the wrath of the NKVD. A revolution is nothing without the love and support of those it is fought for. You know, some reason both game loads. So that's weird. Did it update for you? You try uninstalling it and reinstalling it. I'm watching The Americans. Oh yeah, how's that, Foxen? Is that just a clever way of saying that you're watching me right now? Interesting story, if nothing else. For some reason, you weren't moving that soldier, so let's get you moving. Assassin striking at Hitler. Who would have thunk it? Of hope. Right. I heard about that show. How is it? I've heard good things about it. The revolution will not end when Yagoda falls, and make no mistake, comrades. He will fall, but we cannot make the same mistake Comrade Lenin and Comrade Bukharin did before us. That mistake, comrades, is to not have a clear vision of the post-revolution. If we're not disciplined here, now, marching to a single victory at all, we will lose our way, just as those before us were prone to do so. Ever so slowly, the roots of a new union began to take shape, cautiously, slowly, but full of determination. Comrade Sablin is not a dictator nor a king. We do not fear him. We are not his slaves, no. We follow him because we believe in what he stands for. Our collective hopes and determination will be the tinder that ignites the fires of a Soviet phoenix. Fucking amazing, a bit slow, but I'm there for the drama. I get that. Mikhail Markiv whooped and waved his old battered saber in the air as his cavalry thundered across the taiga. A huge cloud of dust rising in their wake as they charged towards the great train. His men let loose their war cries, bullets tore through the air towards them, responding with a blistering fusillade that sent the screaming defenders toppling from the train. This was living. This was what men were made for. Markiv joined his men as they drew alongside the train, leaping from their horses to the cargo-strewn flat cars, fountains of gore spilling from the guards not smart enough to jump off and make a run for it. Forward, men! Show these plunderers the fury of the Buryats! For the revolution! Shouted Markiv, pulling his revolver and sprinting down the train towards the engine, bombarding the defenders with a hail of bullets. Reloading behind an enormous crate stamped with Chinese characters, Markiv felt the train speed up behind him. The desperate engineer stoking the boiler tried to escape. Too late, he thought. Grinning viciously as he fired wildly out from cover, a spray of blood erupting from the head of one of his enemies. Ah, what a righteous feeling, to spill the blood of plunderers and black marketeers in the service of the revolution. Despite the glories of battle, Markiv had to admit the result was a foregone conclusion. His troops outnumbered the defenders 5-1 by the time they reached the front. The smooth, soot-smeared engineers had their hands up in a terrified surrender. So, the tyrant Yagoda thought he could control the railways, did he? He'd have a hell of a lot more trouble suppressing the revolution without his regular shipment of coming up from China. Markiv sneered as one of his grinning men handled him a bottle of expensive wine intended for the tyrant himself. He uncorked it with his teeth and took a swig. Taking it from Yagoda made it all the sweeter. Forwards, for the revolution. What's going on with Quizzling TNO? I never thought about it before. Let me check that real quick. Is he in government? Are we allowed to check that? I don't know if we can check it from here. Diplomacy. I don't know. I know Terboven leads, but I don't know what happened to Quisling. And we might have to figure out that next time, because I have to end it here for the YouTube people. But, thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more like my content feature, the sub button for uploads weekdays, as well as occasionally Saturdays. Have any comments, feedback, concerns, leave in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get, and I appreciate any and all feedback you might have for me. If you want to check out my various links, I have a Twitch, a Discord, a Patreon, a second channel. All those are down in the description box below. That's really about it for now, folks. My name has been Mr. Dogboat333. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.